The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. The bullet that started a world war. The killer had already failed once that day. He was standing on a street corner eating a sandwich, resigned to defeat, when the car carrying his target took a wrong turn and stopped less than 6 feet in front of him. He didn't miss the second time. Within 6 weeks, that single moment on a street corner in Sarajevo had dragged the entire world into a war that would kill 17 million people. On June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the throne of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and his wife Sophie were riding through the streets of Sarajevo in an open-topped car as part of a formal state visit, a visit deliberately scheduled on a date carrying significant provocative historical weight for Serbian nationalists, the anniversary of the Battle of Kosovo, a defeat centuries earlier that remained a powerful symbol of Serbian national identity and resentment toward foreign occupation. The visit was organized by a group of young Bosnian Serb nationalists belonging to a secret organization known as the Black Hand, who viewed Austria-Hungary's annexation of Bosnia 6 years earlier as a direct occupation of Serbian territory, and who had specifically planned to assassinate Franz Ferdinand during his visit as a deliberate act of political resistance. The conspirators had positioned several members along the planned motorcade route, and the first attempt came when one of them threw a hand grenade at the Archduke's car. The device bounced off the vehicle and exploded beneath the following car in the procession, wounding several nearby officers and bystanders, but leaving Franz Ferdinand and Sophie entirely unharmed. In the chaos following the failed attack, the assassin attempted suicide by swallowing a cyanide capsule and jumping into a nearby river, only for the poison to fail and the river to prove too shallow, resulting in his capture by an angry crowd before police could even intervene. Rather than cancelling the remainder of the visit, Franz Ferdinand insisted on continuing with his scheduled itinerary, first visiting the wounded officers at a local hospital, a decision that required the motorcade to alter its planned route. Crucially, the drivers of the vehicles weren't properly informed of this last-minute route change, and when the lead car took the originally planned turn onto a side street, an official travelling with the Archduke shouted for the driver to stop and reverse since they were now going the wrong way. This exact moment of confusion placed the Archduke's now stationary car directly in front of Gavrilo Princip, one of the other conspirators involved in the original plot, who had given up on the assassination attempt entirely after hearing the earlier grenade explosion and assumed the plan had already failed. Princip happened to be standing near a small delicatessen at precisely the moment the car stalled directly in front of him, close enough that he was able to step forward, draw a pistol and fire twice at point-blank range, striking Sophie in the abdomen and Franz Ferdinand in the neck. Both died within the hour, Sophie first, with Franz Ferdinand's final reported words expressing concern for his wife's survival, rather than any awareness of the historical consequences about to unfold from the shots that had just killed them both. What followed transformed a regional political assassination into the trigger for the deadliest conflict the world had yet seen. Austria-Hungary, with Germany's explicit backing, issued Serbia an extraordinarily harsh ultimatum, and when Serbia's response, though largely conciliatory, failed to satisfy every specific demand, Austria-Hungary declared war. This activated a complex, interlocking web of European military alliances that had been building for decades. Russia mobilized to defend Serbia, Germany declared war on Russia and France, and when German forces violated Belgian neutrality to attack France, Britain entered the war as well, transforming a localized Balkan political crisis into a continental catastrophe within roughly 5 weeks of Franz Ferdinand's death. Historians have long debated how directly the assassination itself should be understood as the war's actual cause, versus simply the immediate spark that ignited tensions, alliances, and militaristic ambitions that had already been building dangerously across Europe for years, meaning some form of major European conflict may well have eventually erupted, regardless of the specific events in Sarajevo. What remains genuinely undisputed, however, is the almost unbearable historical weight carried by that single moment of navigational confusion, If the driver hadn't taken the wrong turn, if the car hadn't stalled directly in front of Princip specifically at the exact moment he'd already abandoned his own plan, the assassination very likely never occurs at all, at least not in the specific way it actually unfolded. Gavrilo Princip himself was too young, at 19, to receive the death penalty under Austro-Hungarian law at the time, and was instead sentenced to 20 years imprisonment, where he died of tuberculosis in 1918, just months before the war. His single act had helped ignite finally, catastrophically concluded, having lived just long enough to witness the war's devastating final years from behind prison walls, though not long enough to see its actual end. What makes Franz Ferdinand's assassination endure as one of history's most consequential single moments isn't simply the scale of the war that followed. Though 17 million deaths remains a genuinely staggering, almost incomprehensible toll to trace back to 2 gunshots fired by a 19-year-old on a street corner. But the specific, almost unbearable randomness embedded within the story itself, a wrong turn, a stalled engine, and the assassin who had already given up, standing in exactly the right place at exactly the wrong moment. A combination of circumstances so improbable that historians have spent over a century since debating how differently the entire 20th century might have unfolded had any single element of that specific sequence gone even slightly differently. If stories like this, where a single wrong turn on a single street corner reshaped the entire course of human history, are exactly what you come here for, subscribe to The Grave Details, because history holds more stories like this than most people will ever know.